What's up, everybody? This is Brendan. I'm a full stack developer based in Brooklyn, New York. Today, I'm going to be walking you through the solution for Outbox 2. We're going to be talking about the Angular route library. Now, this library is part of the Angular library, but it does not come pre-baked into the Angular library. So you're going to see in the first step of this project, we're actually going to have to include a script link to that particular part of the library. But anyway, what the Angular route part of this Angular library does is it allows us access to a bunch of dependencies, one of them being the route provider. Now, the route provider allows us to configure our app so that based on what URL we visit, we see a particular view, and that view is connected to a particular controller. One good example I can think of right now off the top of my head, and also very similar to what we're actually going to be building out, is Gmail. When you click on a particular email in Gmail, you'll notice that the URL changes. So maybe it'll be /outbox / nothing for representing like the main email page where you see all of your emails. Now, when you click on a particular email, the URL is actually going to change from /outbox / nothing to /outbox / 3. And that 3 actually represents the ID of the particular message that you clicked on. So yeah, let's dive into what we're going to be building today, which is Outbox 2. Outbox is creating an AngularJS app for their email app. Here's what it looks like. So you've got a bunch of kind of like this home screen here. When you click on a particular message, you see the content of that message. So yeah, very similar to Gmail. The app displays a list of messages. When you click on an email, it shows the entire message. All right, so step 1, in the view, in the head element, include Angular route.js as a script element. Okay, so like I said before, this part of the Angular library doesn't come pre-baked into the core Angular library, so we actually have to include it as a script here. You need to include this additional JavaScript file in order to add routing to your app because it does not come with the AngularJS library by default. Just like I said, I also want to show you something a little extra here. Notice how normally when you declare our ng app component, we go to our app.js file and declare this var app, set it equal to angular.module and the name of the actual app. Notice though that our empty brackets that have literally been empty for the entire course are no longer empty. This is because not only do we need to include this script linking the Angular route library in our view, but we also now need to include it as a dependency in our app. So anyway, that aside, step 2 in app.js, define the app's routes. We're going to be using app.config and route provider to set up the routes. Okay, so this config is actually going to take a function and it's going to take this route provider dependency, which is going to allow us to map particular controllers and views to a particular URL that our user is on. So route provider, which we're going to pass into that function, and then .when, we're going to call .when on that route provider. And what when takes as the first argument is the actual URL that we want to start mapping to. So when the user goes to /outbox, what do we want to do? Second argument, we're going to use the second argument here as an object, and it's going to have two keys. One key controller pointing to the home controller, and the second key being template URL pointing to this particular URLs, views/home.html. All right, now when step 3, when the user visits /outbox /ID, use these particular controllers. So email controller, and use this view /email.html. I noticed an extra period up here. That's definitely going to screw things up. Okay, step 4, otherwise, we're actually going to redirect. So otherwise, if a user accidentally visits a URL other than the two above, use.otherwise to redirect to /outbox. Redirect to /outbox. So we have configured our app here for basically 2 routes, /outbox and /outbox/ an ID of a particular message that we want to view. Now, what happens when we type in a URL that we have not mapped anything to, like /bananas? What's going to happen? Well, it's going to go, does /bananas equal /outbox? Nope. All right, it's going to skip that one. Does /bananas equal /outbox/ their particular ID or something? Nope. Otherwise, it's finally going to hit here, and this is kind of our catch-all. It's going to say, all right, /bananas doesn't match any of the routes that we've provided so far. Instead, I want to redirect the user back to the /outbox route, which does exist. So if we go to /bananas, it's actually going to go to /outbox, and then it's going to kind of come back up here and say, does /outbox exist as a route that's a part of our app? Yes, it does. And then it's going to say, all right, sweet, I know what template and what controller to use. So we're going to save that. And before I move on, you might be wondering, what's this :ID? What does that represent? Like I said, when you're viewing Gmail and you're viewing a message, you go to /outbox, you click on a particular message. Let's say you click on the 3rd message in your email. So you're going to go to outbox/3. You'll notice that the URL literally changes. And that is because when you clicked on that particular URL, that URL is able to dynamically render whatever email that you clicked on. So what that really is in Gmail is a bunch of boxes, which you see when you log on. You see a bunch of boxes. You see the name of the subject, and you see a little description of the message inside that email. What it actually is it's an A tag in HTML, which, as most A tags work, as most anchor tags work, it actually has an href that points to a particular URL. Well, that URL is actually /outbox/ whatever ID of the current email that we're currently iterating over. So it's /outbox/ the ID of that email, /3. So when we go to that particular route, we know to use this controller and use this template and inject that into our view. And that ability to dynamically grab whatever we pass to the URL after /outbox/ is what's known as route params. That's another dependency which comes in as part of this Angular route library that we've included. We're really not going to touch on it just yet. We'll save that for some more projects down the line. But just so you know, this : represents this dynamic variable or number or string that we're actually going to have access to when we go to a particular URL. All right, step 3. In the view in the main section, add the div ngView directive. Okay, so div ngView div, and what that's going to do is, based on what URL we're on, we're actually going to inject a particular view and controller and render it in our main view. Okay, so let me save that. And step 4, view the result by visiting localhost 8000 in the browser. When you visit /outbox, a view is constructed by injecting views /home.html into the div ngView/div in index.html. Likewise, when you click on an email, a view is constructed by injecting views /email.html into the div ngView div. So notice we're currently at /outbox. And when we click on a particular message, we should see the particular email view using that particular email controller. Okay, so nothing is actually being shown right now, which is strange, but look at step 5. In the view, finish the code to display an email, looking at the format of the data in the email API, display an email subject from datetime and message. So remember, we're currently sitting on the outbox / whatever ID of this message that we just clicked on. It's not really showing up in the URL, but trust me, that's actually what's going on. And it's using this template URL, but something tells me that we don't have this view / email.html template set up correctly. So before I actually move on, I want to show you what's going on in the controller. So here is the name of the controller, email controller, and these are the dependencies that we've included for this controller. Notice here we've got scope, which is the obvious way of attaching data to the scope so that we can use it in the view. We also have this emails, which is a service. And we also have this route params, which comes in as part of the Angular route library. Now the route params is going to give us access to the actual ID that we're currently on, to the current URL that we're on, and we're able to dynamically grab whatever we define as dynamic over here in our app.js file. So for instance, this ID is totally dynamic. If we go to outbox /bananas, over here, we'll actually be able to grab that /bananas by going route params.id, which would equal to data bracket bananas, which really isn't a thing. But in this case, it would be a number, which makes more sense. So data, remember, is this array, which gets constructed by our emails service. Let's open up our email service over here. It uses the classic HTTP GET to look at this JSON object. Let's actually look at that JSON object because we're going to, oh, maybe not. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is our JSON object here. We've got a bunch of different email objects inside this array. And what we're doing is we're saying, all right, make an HTTP GET request to this URL on successfulness, pass in that data, catch for the errors. But anyway, back in our controller, we're actually including that service. And upon a successful GET request, we're returning that data and attaching it to our scope. But because of route params, we actually know what particular ID of the particular email that we want to see. And so we're actually attaching to our scope at the property of email, we're attaching a particular email, aka the ID that is in the URL that we're currently on. So /outbox/1 or whatever it is. And what that does is it goes, all right, data, route params.id. I know that ID is dynamic. That's how we set it up in our app.js file. I know I have access to it. So data at the index of 1 equals a particular email's information. So with that kind of explained, let's finish setting up our template for our view, our email.html view. Okay, so subject, and let me just show you what the structure of each email looks like. So we've got from, date time, subject, message, unread. Okay. So, and remember, why am I using email? Because that's how we've defined it as attached in our scope here. Scope at the property of email gives us access to that particular email at that particular index in that array. Right, so email.subject, email.from, email.datetime, and I'm going to use a pipe to format that datetime so it looks nice and neat, and email.message. Close that off, and boom, Will you look at that? Depending on what we click on, the content of the message actually changes. And that is all through the power of a combination of route provider and route params. You might be wondering, when did we set up this particular box to link to a particular URL and dynamically pass in the ID as part of that URL that we're linking to? Well, if you notice over here at our home view, we're using the ng repeat directive. And let me open up the home controller as well. So what we're doing is we're using that same email service that we used. And instead of the other email controller where we grab one particular email in our massive data array, we're saying, all right, just grab me the whole array and attach it to our scope at the property of emails. So that way we have access to all of the data that we see here. And then we're saying over here in our view, iterate over each email in our emails array, which is attached to our scope. And for each email, create this A tag, which is linking to /outbox/ whatever ID of the email that we're currently iterating over. So that way, when we hit Sean Carter, this is actually an A tag linking to /outbox/ the index of that particular email, which is 0, because it is the first element in our array. And as we know as JavaScript developers, in JavaScript, objects are indexed starting with 0. So yes, this is the first element in this array, but it's actually able to be accessed by looking at this array and looking at the 0th element in that array, which is this one. All right, so that is it, folks. I hope this was helpful. That's it for step 5, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.